The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal. Happy smile. Enterprise Life. Enterprise. Your advantage. Bell Aqua Active. Bell Aqua Active. Stay true to originality.
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. Here on The Point of View, we pick the right topics, get the right guests, ask them relevant questions on issues that matter to you. We're live and interactive tonight, and we are delving into a very, very vexed issue. This will not be the first time. In fact, on June the 20th, 2019, we discussed a very similar issue. It's just morphed into a problem that keeps recurring. We're looking at why a number of people who originally were deemed to have passed the entrance exam into the Ghana School of Law are now being told they cannot enter. We'll try and bring you the angles that are available, because not all the angles are willing to speak, but at least we'll air the views of those who are willing, so you get a clear understanding of what the issues are, get a proper historical context, and hopefully attempt to know how to resolve this. We'll be right back. Stay with us. So it's another year, and we have had prospective people wanting to go into the Ghana School of Law to study law. Well, the issue has many phases. There's the first issue of why people even have to go for a 2-year training in order to qualify through some examination process to become professional lawyers. Some people believe that people should be allowed to train on their own or study and just write a bar exam. But the arrangement we have, you have to get entrance into the Ghana School of Law. And the contention is that, well, this whole thing is based on a law which was passed in 1962. And at the time, there was only the University of Ghana that offered the LLB program. Now we have up to 19 institutions offering some form of LLB. And therefore, if you want people to train to be professional lawyers, you have to let that conduit open to match the increase from 1 to 19. That's an issue we'll deal with. There's also a view of whether we should even be writing an exam at all to enter this institution to be trained. I'll be talking to Kweku Azah. He's called Professor Kweku Asare. He's a Ghanaian-based, he's a US-based Ghanaian who's been trying to change Ghana through the legal regime. He's won many, many significant court cases. He will be giving us some historical context to this issue and why he thinks Aluta must continue. He's joined us by Zoom. Prof, good evening.
Good evening, Bernard. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. There's a lot to talk about, but we'll limit it to the law school tonight.
Okay.
I also have in the studio the SRC president of the current law school students. He's called Wanda Victor Kuto. He's sitting here, having himself done 1 year of the 2-year program. So he's in but not yet out. Wanda, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Amazing stuff. Thank you for joining us. And then we have an aggrieved prospective student of the Ghana School of Law. He's called Tony Ba. He's a member of this, it's called the Law Students Association. It's a loose association of aggrieved students who want to enter the law program. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome, Bernard.
Great. It's always good to start something from history. So I'm going to go to Kweku Azah. I hope you don't mind me calling you this. I had you here 2019, June the 20th, discussing this form of issue. You have been to court to try to see that this whole arrangement of squeezing 19 institutions, students from those institutions into one law school in Accra to become lawyers. You thought the whole arrangement didn't make sense, and even the interview process and all of that. Just give me a 2-minute history of this problem and how you've tried to deal with it from a legal perspective before we come to the substance of what's happened in this latest round of admission fiasco. Prof.
Well, the government, the problem, the essence of the problem is that we've created a monopolist provider of quote unquote professional law course. And anyone who does economics at a very basic level in my days, what we call O-level economics. There was a famous book, Economics Without Tears, and he explains the problems with monopolies. Monopolies tend to restrict output. They don't care very much about quality, and they destroy social welfare. And that's exactly what is going on. The Ghana School of Law is a monopoly provider of legal education. And as economic theory predicts, it restricts output, it extracts rent from the students, it has no incentive to be productive, to satisfy consumers because they have nowhere else to go. And it has destroyed social welfare from 2015, when I first noticed the problem, till now. And the sad thing, I know you refer to history, even the history does not support them, because if you go back to the Legal Profession Act, which was written in 1960, even then, the General Legal Council is asked to set up a school, or, of course, in anticipation of more universities coming on board, name other institutions who could offer this professional course. Now, today in 2021, the distinction between professional law course and academic law course is bereft of reasoning. There is no logic, there's no rationale, there's nothing to support the idea that family law or civil procedure or evidence or criminal procedure or ADR, those are professional courses that somehow can only be taught at a Ghana School of Law, and the traditional common law courses, which to me determine whether or not you are a good lawyer, constitutional law, contract law, tort law, property law, administrative law, those basic ingredients can only be taught at the universities. That is a distinction that exists only in Ghana, and frankly, that is a distinction that weakens our universities, because if you look at the rankings of universities in Africa, our universities never do well. And the reason they don't do well is if you look at the university's curriculum, they are irrational, because you have students who get an LLB degree without ever taking civil procedure or criminal procedure or evidence. Why? Because somehow those courses, those fundamental and foundational courses, have been outsourced to a Ghana School of Law. And until they have gotten their LLB and go through all kinds of hoops, I mean, they give them some exam. It's just a rationing system to pick up a few people to go to the Ghana School of Law. I don't even want to dignify it by calling it an exam. And so this whole regime, this model, is completely broken down. And the sad thing, Bernard, is if you even look at our constitution, the 1992 constitution, at Article 25(2), those who framed the constitution were so concerned about monopolies in education that Article 25(2) specifically says private persons shall be allowed to set up competing schools so that the state does not have a monopoly of any type of education. Now, what is happening at the Ghana School of Law, the monopolies there, they were not the only ones that used to be a monopoly. For some of us who have institutional memory, we remember that there was a time when if you wanted to do medicine, you only come to University of Ghana, did your 3 years there, and your 4th year, you started going to Korle Bu. The school bus came over there and picked them to Korle Bu and brought them back. If you wanted to do pharmacy, the only place to do pharmacy was to go to Tech. Even a course like accounting, which I did at the School of Administration, if you wanted to do accounting at the university, the only place you could do accounting was at the School of Administration, University of Ghana. You couldn't do it anywhere else. In fact, let me get removed from the universities and go to A-level. The reason I went from St. Augustine's to St. Peter's was because St. Peter's was one of 2 schools in the country doing A-level accounting. But the world has changed. Ghana now has about 10 medical schools. You can do pharmacy anywhere. You can do accounting anywhere. When you have done all that is required to get an accounting degree or medical degree or pharmacy degree or nursing degree or whatever it is, then if you want to practice as a professional, you have to take a professional licensing exam. And it is only that professional license exam that the regulator should concern itself about. The regulator should not be in the business of administering professional licensing exam and at the same time having its own school that it provides all others from competing with, and then just abusing the students because the regulator can. And then you have another sad situation where the General Legal Council itself, the General Legal Council, 4 of the most senior Supreme Court members sit on that council. And it's frightening to me that if 4 of the senior Supreme Court justices cannot understand that the Article 25(2) of the Constitution says you cannot have a monopoly. They cannot understand that you cannot issue administrative fiats to undo regulations. They cannot understand that you cannot change the rules of the game in the middle of the game. They cannot understand that you cannot create an expectation for students that if you get 50, you are going to go to this school, and then after the exam, release results in piecemeal fashion with the first set of results showing that 799 people got 50 and therefore are entering, and then under intense pressure, release all the results with a new rule which says you have to get 50 in both parts. Only a monopolist who that is convinced that the powers that be cannot touch it can afford to do such a thing year after year. This is the 6th year that this unjust, arbitrary, capricious, unconstitutional, unethical practice has been allowed to go on.
All right, Prof. Thank you
Yes.
for the background. I recall that you took some matters to court. If I'm wrong, correct me. 2017 or was it 2016? Where you challenged a number of things, including the legality of the law school entrance exam. Can you quickly apprise us of what you actually took to court and what the outcome was for the sake of my viewers?
Yeah, so they had required, when they started by requiring students to take this entrance exam and an interview before they can go to the Ghana School of Law. And I went to court saying that violates the Constitution because there's a legislative instrument which grants automatic entry to the Ghana School of Law for any student who has an LLB. And so unless you change that legislative instrument by the constitutional method, any administrative fiat is unconstitutional. And the court agreed with me that yes, it's unconstitutional. And then it told them, go and fix the problem. That was a mistake the court did by allowing them to go to fix the problem. And then Parliament also allowed them to compound the problem by allowing them to create this new regime of doing exams. So that was the first lawsuit. I won that lawsuit. But there was a later lawsuit that I filed, which in my mind, the court ran away from, because I went to court and said, under Article 25(2), the Ghana School of Law, which is a monopolist, is not allowed. And, you know, the General Legal Council tried to explain why they can be a monopoly, because they gave examples that the government can set up its own military school, and this is an example of a military school, or some stuff like that that didn't make any sense to anybody. And then the court said, surprisingly, that I have not provided evidence that the school is a monopoly, and so they have no jurisdiction to hear the matters. So they didn't really resolve the thing. Now, if you look at Article 2 of our Constitution, it provides two types of claims that can be sent to the Supreme Court. One is where there is a law that violates the Constitution, a law that contravenes the Constitution. You can go to court and ask the court to declare the offending law unconstitutional. And there is 2(1)(b). 2(1)(b) is when you claim an act or an action or an omission by some person violates the Constitution. You can also go to court. Now, there was a case relating to local government elections. NDC went to court some time ago, and they claimed the local government rules were not, I can't remember all the details, but the point is that in that case, NDC did not allege that a law violated the Constitution. It alleged that an action by the Electoral Commission, and the court said, well, bring proof of that action. Now, my Supreme Court, in my case that I went, relied on the NDC case to say they lacked jurisdiction. And so it erred completely, because my case had nothing to do with the NDC case, which dealt with actions that violate the Constitution, not laws. I don't have to prove anything beyond giving you LI 2235, and LI 2235 basically says, if you have an LLB, your only conduit to doing the qualifying certificate of examination is by going to the Ghana School of Law to read a certain number of courses, about 10 of them. And so if they had properly assumed jurisdiction, which I think they ran away from, and you read that, if you read that, you become worried that, hey, we really need to do something about our education, because how does the whole Supreme Court even make this type of mistake where they cannot distinguish between a law that violates the Constitution, and therefore the evidence is the law itself, and an action done by someone where you have to bring evidence that that person has done that action.
Okay.
So I have two lawsuits.
Fantastic. I'll come back to you. Thank you for that background. Let me come in studio and talk to Tony. So you are one of the aggrieved students.
Yes.
My understanding is that the original list was 790 that passed.
Correct.
And then somebody requested, based on a right to information demand, for the raw scores to be published. When the raw scores were published, it turned out that 1,289 had 50 or above.
Correct.
Which suggests that at least 499 people who, by ordinary understanding of the pass mark, should be admitted were denied admission. Am I summarizing this correctly?
Exactly, Bernard. You will understand that when you finish LLB in this country, if you want to be a lawyer, the first thing is to do 3 years or 4 years at the law faculty in any of the universities. And then when you are done, you now prepare yourself and write the entrance exams that will lead you to the Ghana School of Law. Now, when you write the entrance exam, as a settled practice, you need to cross 50 marks or more to be able to be admitted to the Ghana School of Law. In fact, to be very honest, this is my third time of writing this examination. Every day I get 49.
My brother.
So I have 49, another 49, and I go home in peace.
So 2019 you wrote?
49.
2020?
49.
2021?
58.
So this time they went to give testimony at church that you have got 58, only to be told that you need to get...
Bernard, the sad aspect of it is that this is all that we know. I mean, everybody knows. Those who have become lawyers, our colleagues, some of them are lawyers now, and our friends who are in the law school now. In fact, in the law school itself, you need to cross 50 in most of the papers to pass, to be able to go, move forward. Yes, to proceed. So it's a settled practice. And this is what my colleagues and other friends, in fact, in 2021, the cutoff point, which is 50, most students got 50. That's a sad aspect. So you have made friends who are 50, 51, and are being admitted, and you get 55, 60, 58, and you are not going.
At what point did the law school explain that getting 50 was not enough? Was it before you wrote the exam or after the results and the demand was made for the raw scores?
So Bernard, so the thing is that when they came out with 790 students, you know, as practice, what they do is that every year they will publish the raw scores of all the students who wrote the examination, all the students. So every year that's what they do. But this year, strangely, they publish only the 790. And so when I saw it, I was like, what is happening? I mean, why 790? And when I checked that my number was not there, I was like, what's happening? So upon incessant pressure on the law school to publish all the schools, as they've been doing as a normal practice, then they now publish it. And then we realized that, 499 students more. In other words, 1,289 students passed, crossed the 50. In fact, had more. So then we saw a new rule.
As in the circular that Mr.
Exactly,
Brentford sent.
Then in an attempt to explain why not 1289 but 790, then we saw a new rule.
Let me read what was on the circular, because this was on social media. It says candidates or applicants who obtain the minimum threshold mark of 50% each in the two sections for A and B, into brackets part A and B of the exam, are eligible to be considered for admission by the General Legal Council for the 2021-2022 academic year to pursue the professional law course. The decision of the General Legal Council in respect of the published results of the entrance exam is final. So you are saying that this notice came after. This was not made known to you before you wrote the exam?
No. In fact, it was not even in existence. It was not in existence anywhere. Everywhere. In fact, before the examination, they will publish everything in the papers. You will see the requirements you need to write the examination. Everything is published. Why this one after the examination? So this one was not published. It was when, in fact, the 790 that was released, indeed, did not accompany this notice. There was no notice with the 790.
So the assumption was that only the 790 got 50.
Exactly.
And then when the list came and it was 1289,
then they brought this one.
was added. So you're thinking it's ex post facto rationalization.
Fantastic.
That's what you think. Let me take Wonder's initial thoughts on this before we will come back and try and appreciate this. Is this the because you had the press conference as well?
Yes, please.
Is the narration he gave the sequence that you know, because you are in the system already? Is it the sequence that originally there was a list of 790 and then upon a request they released a 1289 and then this explanation came? Is that sequence correct?
Yeah, it's correct. But I just want to make this point. First of all, good evening to our viewers.
Yeah.
Just to make a quick point, he made mention that even at the law school, you need to get 50% to cross.
To cross.
Yes, I'll make a point and distinguish it. Okay, I'll make a point, and it's very important that we get it in context. So there's a course at the law school, part 1. It's called LPM, Law Practice Management. But you do this course with legal accounting. There are two different subjects, but it's considered as one paper. Now, in order for you to be deemed to have passed these two, you need to get 50% for each. So I know somebody who, if you add the two, the person got about almost 60, but the person has failed the paper. Because
this LPM course?
Yes. Because if you get, let's say, 40 over 50 for LPM, and you get 20 over 50 for accounting, that is 60. But you have failed. Because for LPM, you ought to have gotten...
And this has been the practice for this specific course called LPM?
Yes. So let me distinguish it from the entrance exam. The difference is that at least we are in the known.
You are aware of this?
Thank you. Even on the exam paper,
it's there clearly written.
It's there that you need to pass both. So I remember during the exams, when I solve accounting small, I leave it, go and solve LPM small, because I know that you have to pass the both. Two. So I want to make this point and distinguish so that nobody says...
So you're saying that the idea of having to pass two aspects of paper 50-50 may not have been strange if it was made known to them before they wrote the exam.
Exactly. And if you look at the position of the SRC and at our basis, the issue of prior notice, fairness, ought to play out. I'll show you the advert. The as published by the chairman of the Independent Examination Committee.
The advert?
Yes, it's here. Daily graphic. May 28th. May 14th, page 28 of Daily Graphic. It did not include the notice.
It didn't say anything about having to pass both.
Exactly.
So his point is correct.
Solid. His point is solid.
I'll take a break and come back to this. This is the point of view. So far, we're on the same footing. As the lawyers say, we are ad idem on the matter. We'll be back with more because it gets a bit complicated when you get into some other tiny details. My guests are Kweku Azan, that's how I call him, and I also have Tony Ba, an aggrieved prospective law student, and of course, Mr. Wonder Victor Kuto, president of the Ghana School of Law, SRC. We'll be right back.
To have enterprise life in your corner. They give solutions that make life easy every day. So now I can focus on my dreams.
Mr. Moko to Kumbitibia, enterprise life, what when she share more, I don't know. Yan, who do you move?
Hey,
I shock you.
Bro. We've got life. Dream big. Go on and dream big with us.
Dream big with us. Enterprise, your advantage.
Make every moment count with DSTV's new shows this spring. Love certainly proves itself strange on Starlight. While Mariam uncovers the truth about her past that'll change her future. Then climb the corporate ladder with real estate tycoons on Z World. On Telemundo, Lolly takes custody of her late best friend's 2 children. And a lifelong curse won't hold Aurora back on TL Novelas. Get and stay connected to DSTV for world-class entertainment. DSTV, it's your moment.
Creamy Plus is a fully skimmed evaporated milk. Creamy Plus is available in a shop near you.
This message has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're trying to understand the positions around mostly those who have been aggrieved by what the Ghana School of Law has done. Released a list of initially 790 names, which we originally considered to be the full list of those who had passed. Upon a request for further and better particulars, it emerged that over 1,280 people actually got more than 50% of the exam. So there's a campaign, hashtag admit the 499. And my guest in the studio is Tony Ba. He is a man who's tried to enter the Ghana School of Law. This is his 3rd time. First year, got 49. He didn't complain. Second year, 49. He didn't complain. This year, got 58. But his name is not on the list because apparently he didn't pass. He didn't get 50 in the 2 sides of each of the papers. So that's where the problem is. I have one that Victor Kuto, who's the SRC president of the Ghana School of Law, SRC. And I have, of course, Kweku Azan on the Zoom. I'll come back to Kweku again on what is best practice elsewhere, other country comparisons, and whether there's a legal route for these people. I'm coming back to you. So in the exam that you wrote, which was advertised, you were supposed to write 6 papers.
Yes, sir.
And was it objectives or written?
So you have 2 sections. You have 20 MCQs.
Multiple choice questions.
Multiple choice questions. Mm-hmm. So the 21 is 2 marks. So if you score the 20, you get 40.
Okay.
And then you have 2 written essay questions for 60, 30, 30. Mm-hmm. So per the new rule, you need to get 20 and 30. Half, that's 50% in each side. So if you get 20 here and 30 here, you make up 50. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of people have gotten and they are gone. But if you make 33 or 35 and you make 29 here, you won't make it because you need to get 30.
Over the 60.
Over the 60. So even if you do 29 and you get 40, making up 69, you will still not go to law school. This
and
is the new rule.
The exam is how many hours?
2 hours.
Do they tell you how much time to use for each of the sites?
No, I mean,
you are
so that's what I'm saying. See, so it's a strategy. When they are preparing for the examination, because it's a settled practice and everybody knows, they tell you, in fact, everybody will prepare you well, write well, go to the section B, write well, and then on the MCQ, which has 40, do it quickly. Because if you're able to grab 40, then you need to write, more or less, because it's an accumulation. So
you feel that because the written is 60, if you write well and you get a good mark there, the MCQs, even if you are fast, you can get some marks there. So as you're saying that if you knew that this was the approach they would use, that you have to get 50 of each, your approach to the exam would have been different.
I would have perhaps adopted the approach my brother used, right? You do small here, move here, do here, move here. But you see, in an examination, it's strategy and tactics.
Based on your expectation. But if you look at the advert they put out in the graphic, which I have here, the admission procedure is not very clear, but they wrote the admission procedure is as follows. The General Legal Council determines the number of candidates to be admitted to the professional law course for the academic year. This is 2. This one, applicants may be granted admission. So this may is even interesting. If they have passed the written examination organized by the General Legal Council for the 2021-2022 academic year of admission on payment of the required fee and the submission of the application form and the supporting documents. 3. Eligible applicants who attain the minimum threshold mark set by the General Legal Council will be offered admission for the 2021-2022 academic year to pursue the professional law course. But they don't mention the mark.
Yes, Bernard, I told you. So like I said, this is not...
So why did you expect it to be 50 then?
So I'm saying it's a settled practice. In law, he knows, it's a settled practice. The law must be, you see, if you put it like this, Bernard, there will be a problem. The law must be predictable. You should be able to see the outcome. That this thing I'm going to do, this is the outcome. All right? You should see it and have confidence in the law. The rule that governs the examination. I'm here to find out in any examination where the rule that passes you is in the hands of, with all due respect, respectfully, because I'm saying respectfully because, the people in the General Legal Council, these are legal luminaries. So respectfully, you need to bring the rule out, but you cannot hold the rule. And then say when you write the exam, then I'll determine who comes in.
Because you are SRC president, I believe you have the privilege of meeting management to discuss this on behalf of these people, even though they don't represent them. Are you at liberty to share the explanation they gave? Because I believe that as SRC president, you obviously would have met the authorities and asked them, why have you done this? Are you because I know there are also non-disclosure things. What aspect of your discussion with them are you at liberty to speak to the public on?
Okay, thank you very much. You are right. I mean, in my discussion with the Director for Legal Education, he cautioned me about their oath of secrecy. So I will not go much into the details. But basically, the explanation that he gave is that last year, our time, I think somebody got 38 for the objectives.
Out of 40?
Yes. And then the paper 2, the session B, the person couldn't write the essay or got, I think, 12 marks. But if you add the 12 to 38...
He's got 50.
He's got 50 and then made it to the law school. You understand? So that's the explanation. Now,
So they didn't like that?
They feel like you should be able to write well and all of that. But
which suggests that they admitted that last year when they were admitting your group, they were just using 50% raw.
Oh, it's a known.
It's very clear.
Yeah, it's known.
So because of the fact that some people didn't do well at all in one side, they felt that they have to give equal weight to both sides.
Yes, that was the explanation.
The explanation he gave you.
Now, our initial reaction as SRC is that, like, the law is a living organism. The rules keep on changing. In the past, they used to be interviewed. The rules keep on changing. But our issue is that the issue of prior notice. You see, that is our basis. We are not even too much about the content. The issue, the procedure. Even if you are changing the rules, it's only fair that this 499 or all the candidates ought to have been given prior notice before the entrance examination. That's why I brought the advert.
Did he say anything about space constraint? Because that in the public domain, we believe that the reason these guys are being denied space is that there isn't provision for them financially and logistically?
Yes, I'm glad to inform you that just yesterday, on behalf of the SRC, we did our own audit, and we've extracted the 499, the index numbers and the raw scores, and we submitted it to the Director of Legal Education to be sent to the General Legal Council. And we did not just submit the list. We
As
added,
an appeal?
Yes, we added the recommendations to it. Recommendations, short-term recommendations, because of the issue about space. We recommended that UPSC, the Ghana School of Law, can rent space over there to accommodate the 499 for lectures. And also, we also recommended the civil service hall around the ministries. It's a very big hall.
So you're basically saying that on the basis that these 499 were not giving prior notice that this was the new rule,
yes, please,
they should find space for them.
Yes, it's part
and
of
if they want to implement this next year, at least let everybody know that this is what you are going to do.
Right.
So you went ahead to look for space.
Yes, it's part of our recommendations.
So they should use UPSA and where?
And then the civil service hall at the ministries. And also quick one. You see, Ghana School of Law has 3 campuses now. The main campus, Makola, Green Hill campus, and the Kumasi campus. The Green Hill campus is a rental facility at Gimpa. The Kumasi campus is a rental facility at Ken University. So if it is possible
to rent those 2, why can't you rent 2 more?
Exactly. So let's rent UPSA, okay, to admit the 499. I mean, it's a headache. I mean, most of them do call, and sometimes some of them cry on phone. So we are appealing to the General Council.
So you, even though you represent students in the law school, you have taken it upon yourself to appeal to the authorities for these guys who are here to come in?
Yes, because 1, the issue is of public interest. 2, the issue affects legal education in Ghana. 3, the issue borders on Article 2. You hear Professor Koko Azan, enforcement. When we think that this matter has to do with discretionary powers, the exercise of discretionary powers under Article 296 and Article 23. And Article 2, a citizen, a person can enforce the Constitution. And it is on this basis that the SRC feels that, look, even though they are not students, we can also speak on their behalf. And we are doing our best. Like I indicated, we took time to audit. The Roscoe is here.
But they will have it themselves. I mean, I'm even surprised you have to do the audit. Because if I'm an examiner, I know the 499, what they got. Right? So they will know that these 499 have passed.
This was what brought about the auditing. When the issue of 499 came, some of them said that, look, they actually even made it, even with the new threshold.
So we have to be sure to know. So, for example, he wouldn't know what he got in Section A or Section B.
Some of them made the argument that even with the new threshold, they had made it. You know, I received a petition.
Hold on. Do you know how much you got?
Yes, I do.
I know you know your raw total score,
yes,
but do you know the distinctions?
Yeah, it's all that was there.
It's there?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So some of his colleagues made the argument that they were part of, they actually, with the new threshold, they've made
that names have been swapped?
Yes.
So you had to do that audit?
Yes, so I went to the director and said, these people said some of them have, even with a new rule, they've made it. What the director said, let me be very frank, is that, they are a human institution. If it is true that even with the new rule, they've made it, we should bring the list. Then I told my team quickly, the SRC secretary and the vice president Greenhill, that they should, let's audit the list. So this is the full list of the 2,000.
Oh, you have the whole list here?
Yes, it's here.
Hey,
so
right information.
We took time to audit it.
So what is the response you are getting? Is it positive that they will admit these guys?
Yeah, thank you very much. Like I indicated, we submitted the list and the recommendation just yesterday. As we know, the director has to take it to the General Legal Council. We are hoping that they call for an emergency council meeting. Council sits once in a month. You understand? It's not all the information that we can put out there, but we are hoping that they call for an emergency council meeting for this matter should be addressed. But I'm happy with the level of cooperation so far. The discussion we've had.
You are sounding very nicely political. Some people believe that the 790 was preset. Let me come to Kweku Azan again. Kweku, so thank you for staying on. What I wanted you to do for me, if you can, is to give me what happens elsewhere, because obviously Ghana is not the only country that practices law, and I don't think our law is necessarily superior or inferior to other places. What happens in comparative jurisdictions, and what do you think the fear is, for which reason the Ghanaian authorities don't seem to want to bend?
Well, I outlined that everywhere else in the world, you go to a university and you are educated in the law or in the medicine or in accounting, you get a degree. The Ghana School of Law cannot give you a degree because it's not a university. Once you get the degree, you apply to the Supreme Court of that jurisdiction to sit for the bar examination, which is administered by an independent board of examiners. Once you pass that examination, you are then called to the bar. But we don't have to go to other jurisdictions to know this. We can look at what happens in other professions in Ghana. If you want to become a chartered accountant, what is the path to becoming a chartered accountant in Ghana? You go, you get your education from wherever. The institute doesn't really care where you get your education, but they've given you a syllabi, they've given you the rules. When you feel you are ready, you come, you take the examination, you pass, you are certified. What happens in medicine? You go, you get your Bachelor of Medicine from wherever. When you are ready, you apply to the medical, the
Medical and Dental Council.
Yeah. Medical and Dental Council. You pass, then they allow you to practice. That is so simple that for it to elude the General Legal Council this long is baffling, but goes to your question, what are they afraid of? To me, the Ghana School of Law has become some source of monopoly rent and monopoly power. It is the fear of losing the monopoly rent and the power that is causing the whole country to go through this loss of social welfare. On one hand, you have the head of the judiciary complaining that we don't have enough judges, the Attorney General complaining that we don't have enough lawyers, and then the schools that are supposed to produce the lawyers are constricting output. Where else would that happen? And why would that happen? Well, that would happen because of a monopolist. The arguments that you were having with Tony and the SRC president or secretary, they are very interesting, but they are going around the bigger problem. What they are asking a monopolist to do is to act competitively, is to behave. No, a monopolist does not do any of the things that they are talking about. They are just playing, because even if they admit the 499 this year, next year we'll be back talking about, well, why don't you admit 500 more? We are losing track of the problem. Everybody should stop talking about 499, 49. What is the difference? Tony said he had 49 and 49 and 58. What is the difference between 49 and 58? I mean, because he had 58 now, then I should infer that he can now go and take family law and evidence and criminal procedure. But when he had 49, he could not take those things. It makes no sense to me. Now, we have to understand that the exams that are administered to the students do not measure anything of value. It is not an exam to give a degree. It's not a terminal degree granting exercise. It is not an exercise to give them a bar license. It's just an exercise to pick a certain number from a bigger set, because the Ghana School of Law doesn't have the resources to accommodate all the people.
So if I get you right, the sensible thing to do is to say all law schools can train people in LLB in everything, including civil procedure, criminal law, evidence, and everything else. Then, like the accountants do, they sit for a professional exam. If they feel ready, they can do their own private classes, or their respective schools of law can give them preparation. Write that exam. If they pass, they are professional lawyers. Instead of taking out some of the courses and asking some place in Mokola or somebody to do it. This is your main argument.
That is the main argument. In fact, if you go back to the 60s, the Ghana School of Law was really created as a finishing school. It was set up on the recommendations of two separate committees. One of them, incidentally, was chaired by Lord Denning. The other, they called the Independent Advisory Committee. That was made up of Professor Gower, Sutherland, and Cohen. Cohen was from Australia, Sutherland was from Harvard, and Gower was from Oxford. They came in and they wanted to, Geoffrey Bing, who was the Attorney General, had decided to set up this Ghana School of Law because he wanted a very fast way of training lawyers that would compete with what they described in those days as the conservative lawyers who had just come from UK. And so they would go around the civil service and pick people randomly and send them to the Ghana School of Law. They study and they get a diploma. And then with the diploma, they can take the qualifying license exam. And if they pass, then they become lawyers. A lot of them, they couldn't do it because they didn't have the university education. And ultimately, that diploma aspect of Ghana School of Law was phased out. And what became the Ghana School of Law was a finishing school. People go to the University of Ghana because at that time it was only the University of Ghana that had the law faculty. And when they finished, all of them, without exception, without an exam, without an interview, went to Mokola, not to go do exams, but to go do what we call practical law. They learned how to draft writs and how to do bookkeeping and so on.
All right.
So that was the whole purpose of the Ghana School of Law. And we have allowed it to metamorphosize into something that I cannot even recognize.
Thank you. We'll come back.
Something that is saying it is superior to the universities in the teaching of some legal law courses. As a professor, I'm even offended by the thought that a non-university will assert, and the universities will allow that assertion to go unchallenged, that they are superior to the universities in teaching criminal law and civil law and civil procedure and ADR.
All right.
That doesn't make any sense.
We'll come back and end with final thoughts. This is the point of view. Stay with us. Welcome back to the point of view. We're discussing this controversy over admission into the School of Law. Kuku has given us a very good background. Historically, we appreciate all that. Wonder, what about parliaments? What role have they played in all this? Because I've heard that people have petitioned Parliament. Just give me quickly what you know about what Parliament has done and whether you think they can intervene at all.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Before I move to Parliament, briefly, Professor Kuku has made some wonderful points. We are a bit focused because of the 499. We have tried to narrow ourselves so that we get the solution for the 499. But it's so right. That's why for the long-term recommendation of the S-House is that the law village ought to be completed quickly so that there will be more space in terms of infrastructure. So I salute him on his point, okay? So to Parliament, you could see that it appears that Parliament also has a role in all of this. I have with me here the budget, paragraph 1055. If you look at paragraph...
This year's budget?
Yes, please. If you look at paragraph 1055, from the Finance Ministry to Parliament, there's a proposal that they should admit only about 500 or 550 students into the Ghana School of Law. Then my understanding from the Parliamentary Hansard is that the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee recommended that it's increased to 800. So is that an issue of numbers game?
You are saying that under the budget, there was an expectation,
paragraph 1055,
that only 550 people would be admitted.
Yeah.
And then the Parliamentary Committee even increased the number to around 800. Yeah. So you are saying it's premeditated?
I'm saying that
it appears to be.
On the face of it.
Wow.
But I admit that for everybody there are contingency and all of that. But
yeah, but how? Yeah, that's the why would the finance minister be telling me how many people are expected to be admitted? Or did you write the exam before he wrote this?
No.
He wrote the exam in July?
August 24.
August. Yes. And this was read long ago, much earlier.
Yes. So I'm just telling you the role of Parliament. And there's also another issue.
Wow.
There's another issue that we think the Parliament should also look at. For current students at the Ghana School of Law, there's a policy that if you fail 3 papers, you have to repeat the entire academic year.
You write 6 papers?
Yes.
So and if you fail 3?
You are deemed to have failed the 6. And when we took
this for those of you who are inside?
Yes, please.
Hey.
When we took the matter to management...
You are suffering, no? So if you fail 3 out of 6, you have to write all the 6?
Yes, please.
Wow.
So when we took the matter to management said, look, this has legislative backing. So the right place to go is Parliament.
Why, there's an LI that's...
Yes.
Okay.
LI 2427, Professional and Post-Call Course, Regulations 2020. In fact, it is the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic that passed this LI.
Seriously?
Yeah. In 2020, it was passed last year. So before this policy can be changed, there's a need for Parliament to amend the LI. You see, that's why when this issue pops up and then you see MPs issuing press release and all of that, sometimes I sit back and watch, because some of the things actually emanate from Parliament. So it's important that we look at the role.
So you have your own
Parliament.
battle to fight. But have you passed your first? You are going to second year, right?
Yes, please.
Have you passed all your 6?
By God's grace.
Because otherwise, if you are sitting here, you are hot. So you're saying that idea of failing 3 and having to write all the 6 is not fair. So that if you fail 3, you should let the 3 you've passed stay there for you.
Yes, so that you move and then rewrite.
Rewrite whilst you are doing.
Yes, that's the
instead of repeating
recommendation.
the whole program.
Yes, that's the recommendation.
Have they accepted it?
So we are yet to petition Parliament. We are yet to petition Parliament, like I told you.
But don't forget that there's also a problem of people failing. So if people struggle to enter, when they enter, they can also come out. Because a lot of them also fail. Because we've discussed this in the past before.
Yes.
So is there anything that's changed about that in terms of the way you are trained? Because initially it was brought to 1 year, but they realized that the failure rate was too high, so they went back to 2 years. So has teaching improved? Has it changed? Do you expect more people to pass? This first year, this first group, how many of your mates passed?
If you look at the statistics, for those of us who have moved to part 2, it's encouraging. Our 700 and something. It's not bad.
Out of how many?
Out of 1,045. Yes, but some do have referrals, 1 or 2.
So about 70% have made it.
Yes, to part 2.
Which is better than previously.
Yes, but like I said, about 26%, let's say 243 have failed.
Completely.
Yes, because they have failed 3 papers. They've passed.
They have been asked to go back. How much do you pay to do the part 1?
Yes, so for the repeating student, per the fee structure, I think they are paying 8,400.
But for the fresh students?
15,600.
For part 1?
Yes, please.
And part 2 is how much?
Part 2, if you add the IEC, they will pay an amount for the examination fee. If you add the 1,500 to the 12,400, we are paying 13,900.
So it's almost 30,000 cedis.
No, 13,000.
I know, 13 plus the 15 for the first year, for the 2 years.
Okay. I get you.
So that's what the monopoly Kweku has now talks about.
Yes, so let me use the opportunity to talk about the SRC scholarship fund.
You have a scholarship too?
Yeah.
Hey, Charles, man, you are political pal. We want them to be admitted first.
No, but the
a scholarship for them or for your people?
Student of the Ghana School of
Who enter?
Yes.
You propose. Where are you getting the money from?
Corporate Ghana, government institutions. So far, so good.
So you have a scholarship fund?
Yes, and it's a very transparent.
Is there a campaign promise you made?
Yes.
So how many people are giving scholarship this year?
We are looking at about 350.
350 students?
Minimum, yes, and it's on the SRC website as we speak.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because people are not able to pay the fees.
We are not paying anybody's fee in full, but part of it.
Oh, we've done well. Four more for wonder. Charlie, I hear some people want to go on demonstration.
Yes,
based
Bernard,
on what he said, is it still necessary?
Bernard, most of the students are very young. I mean, we lead them, and we have been, cooling tempers and asking them to hold on whilst we. The sad aspect is that, Bernard, respectfully, we have petitioned almost every necessary institution in this country, from 214 to Parliament to Council of State to the Presidency to. We're just begging, we're just appealing to the GLC, begging them that this is an examination we've written and we have passed. So for the 499, we want them to consider us. It will be very suicidal to go and sit down in an examination you have passed, pay money again, and Bernard, as I sit here, my soul is not even in me.
Hey.
I'm telling you, it's a very...
You're a dead man walking small.
Because from January to August, I have not slept. You know how he knows how voluminous the law is. You'll be reading, the only thing you get up is you go and stretch and come back and do this constantly 24 and
to get your 58
and cross the mark only for you to be knocked out by a technical. So we are appealing to the General Legal Council. We beg them. These are high people. We are just begging them that we have passed. The 499 must be admitted. Okay. Bernard, you have calls from ladies who want to commit suicide. I'm telling you. Okay. Yes.
All right. So thank you. Now, just finally, is there a legal route to? I know you've won some legal battles in the past, and we'll discuss that in a separate program. But will you go for review of the judgment you described to me in the earlier part of the show that you thought was a bad decision?
No, because I've lost confidence in the Supreme Court. They are part of this problem. If you are in this game a long time, you begin to understand that this problem persists. Actually, because the Supreme Court allows it to go on. They know that what they are doing is unconstitutional, but they are doing it. Bernard, there are 2,000 students right now who are willing to pay 15,000 cedis per student. That is 30 million cedis available to the universities, University of Ghana, UDS, UCC. The universities need money. The students need education. The students want to pay for the education. Right now, I'm calling on the General Legal Council to come out with a notice allowing the universities to admit the 2,000 students and to offer those courses and guarantee the students that they will be allowed to take the qualifying certificate of examination in 2022 and 2023 when the time comes.
Aluta continua. Thank you for your good job. We appreciate you. Posterity will be fair and lenient to you. Thank you so much. Kweku Azan. Studied accounting initially, is a lawyer, fantastic advocate for all of us. We appreciate you so much. My other guest in the studio, Wanda Kuto, SRC president of the Ghana School of Law students. He's giving scholarships, so 4 more for him, or 1 year more for him. Tony Ba, his soul has left him. He's praying that he gets admitted. We'll be praying with you. Hopefully they will do the right thing. Thank you for watching. We wanted to get the school to speak to us in public. They declined. But thank you for watching. My name is Bernard Avle. The business dashboard is next. Stay with us.
The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. Kel Charcoal Toothpaste. Kel Charcoal. Happy smile. Enterprise Life. Enterprise. Your advantage. Bell Aqua Active. Bell Aqua Active. Stay true to originality.